All right, so I want to welcome everybody. I see that the meeting is being recorded, so you guys can see this at any other given time if you want to go back and take a look at some of the things we talked about. Hold on, I'm going to try to get this off of my screen. Hold on. Okay, so we're going to talk about the goals first. First of all, the goals for this past 2 seminars that we've had on positive discipline, and tonight's final one is to understand the elements of effective discipline and discover some really good tools to develop cooperation and independence and self-regulation. We're going to learn how to prioritize connection before correction, which is such an important thing to learn. Encouragement versus praise, which is just a mantra of Montessori to begin with. And empowering versus enabling. And we're going to see how mistakes are opportunities to learn. That's something we've talked about, not only in the positive discipline seminars that we've been doing, but in the other ones that we did this year as well, that mistakes are just these amazing opportunities to learn. All right, we're going to talk about effective disciplining parent tips. And I'm going to tell you one thing here before I go over what is on our screens, and that is that there are no parenting tools that are going to work every time for every child. So don't get discouraged. That's why we try to give you as many tools, or I call them my bag of tricks, as possible, so that if something doesn't work in one circumstance, that you can just turn around and use something else. I also wanted to go over with you very quickly before we go on to these parenting tips, and I think this is a really important tip, that there are certain no-nos in positive discipline, in this whole positive discipline realm that we talk about. There are no punishments, there's no permissiveness, there's no rewards or praise, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. There's no pampering. You're not going to rescue or fix something for your child. You're going to let your child learn how to do this on his or her own. There's no punitive timeouts, there's no grounding. Our kids are, your children are a little young for that, but as they get older, these tips are still going to work for them, whether they're 6 or 16. So remember that grounding is something that we try to avoid with positive discipline. And there's no taking away privileges as punishment. So let's talk about these parenting tips that are on the screen for us. First of all, you want to model the behavior that you want your child to use. In our classroom, it's very important that we don't have, that the children don't yell across the classroom for me, Miss Gay, from across the room while other children are trying to work. So I have to model getting up and moving over to the child as well. So, we are always the models for what we want our children to emulate. Make mistakes. It's so important for your child to realize that mistakes are natural, that you learn from them, and that they should not feel bad if they make a mistake, that everyone makes a mistake. What I do a lot of times when I'm giving lessons, especially if they involve something visual like matching, where I'm showing the group, whether it's a small group lesson or a large group lesson or a single child, I will deliberately mismatch something. And when I get to the correct match, I make a big dramatic play of, what I did something wrong. I must have made a mistake. Oh, here it is. Oh, I'm human. I made a mistake. We all make mistakes. Be accountable. Teach your child that it's safe to be accountable without a fear of punishment. We want children to fess up, to be honest, to be to not feel like they have to use any kind of untruths or denial because out of fear of the consequences. And be aware and acknowledge when you have a part in a conflict with your child. Acknowledge that. Let them know that you're aware of that you did something, that your actions caused this as well. So when you show your child that you are accountable and that you are okay being honest with that, they're going to feel much more comfortable with that as well. And self-control. Work on controlling your own behavior. If you want your child to learn self-control tips, then you have to, again, model them. Counting to 10, taking deep breaths. Sometimes in the classroom, I will literally say to a child, I'm really sorry, but right now I'm going to step back and I'm going to take a few minutes to just think about what's going on. And then we'll come back and discuss it. And you can say to a child also when they're in the throes of something, hey, take a break, go over to the peace corner, go to your cool space in the house that you've designated for times when you need to do this, or let's count to 10 together. Just allow your child, give your child tools and tips as to how they can self-control and self-regulate. So the next screen, I believe, is going to review asking versus telling. And asking versus telling is an incredibly important tool to use. Wonderful tool to use. Let me give you some examples. Your child is it's almost summertime, and who doesn't love running around barefoot, right? But your child's going to go outside and you notice that they have no shoes on their feet. So rather than saying, go put your shoes on, you can say, ooh, I know that there are a lot of bees on the clover in our grass. What might you do to protect your feet so that you don't get stung? Ask, let them think about it. Instead of saying it's going to rain, take your raincoat, say to them, what can you wear to help keep you dry if you go outside? Because we go outside in the rain at school. So what do you think you should bring? Let the children think about this. Your child, a lot of times, mornings are tough for parents, they're tough for kids to get ready to go out and start their days. And a lot of times it's hard to motivate your child. So rather than saying, hurry up, get dressed, you need to brush your teeth, you need to eat breakfast, you can say to them, look, what is it that you might miss if we're late for school? Think about that. There might be something really fun that you aren't going to want to miss. So what is it that you normally do first thing in the morning? So that gets your child thinking, okay, this is what I need to do. So just as a review with this asking and telling, which is so very important, telling creates this physiological tension, and your body tells your brain, resist, something's being forced upon you, resist. But when you're asked something, your body relaxes. It's a natural reaction. It relaxes. And your body then sends a message to your brain that, hey, you need to think, answer this question, search your brain. And so asking can actually help spur cognitive development rather than firing up a resistance to things. So we are going to go on to connection and contribution. And this is such a very, very important part of this whole positive discipline. Children want to feel a sense of belonging, and they want to feel that they're significant. They want to connect and contribute to their group. And not just children. I mean, think about it in work teams and friendships. That sense of belonging is exceptionally a human need. Another human need is to know that you are loved. So we need to get across to the children, whether they're your child or they're my students, who I love and adore as well, ways to best create connection and inspire contribution. So there are many, many more ways than 6, but here are 6 very important ways that you can get this message of love through. First of all, Take time to literally get down to your child's eye level. Think about what it must feel like for a child to have somebody so much taller and so much bigger looming over them and talking to them, as opposed to getting down at their eye level and holding a conversation, talking to rather than being talked at. Listen first and talk last. And I know that's really hard sometimes to do. I know it is. It's hard for me too. It's something I work on all the time with adults, like don't interrupt, let them finish. But with children, it's especially important. And what I do in our classroom, just a little trick of the trade that you could do at home or make it so it works best in your home, is that we have something called a peace stove, and it was taken from Native American ways of allowing people to speak and how other people listen. So what we do is, if there is a conflict or we're having a really super important conversation about something that each child needs their opinion to be heard, whoever is holding our peace stove, it's their turn to talk. And when they have said their piece, when they have spoken, then they hand their piece stove over to the person they're speaking with, or the next person on the circle, so that person has something to say. Validate your child's feelings without rescuing or fixing. Do not pamper your child, because that's going to create an older child or an adult who is expecting that people to come and rescue them. So validate their feelings. I see that you're really upset that you didn't get to finish your work before the bell rang. I understand that you were working really hard, and I can feel you right now. But it's time to stop working, and you get to finish that tomorrow. So all is well. Be supportive when your child experiences consequences of their choice. Don't impose those consequences on them. But again, back to the bees in the clover and the running around barefoot. I am so very sorry that you got stung by a bee. When you're running around barefoot, that it is so, at this time of year, it is so easy to get hurt. So I hope that the next time you come outside, you'll remember to put your shoes on. Allow for a cooling off period, and then focus on solutions with all of this, with this contribution and connection. I know that everybody's different. When I'm in the throes of some kind of discussion with my husband of almost 40 years, I have to, my initial response is I want to talk it out. Whereas my husband needs time, he needs to walk away. He needs time to think about what's happening and to gather his thoughts and to cool down. And it, very early in my marriage and very early in my career as a teacher, I had to learn to do that for other people, that my needs and my ways of expressing myself and getting something out does not fit everybody else's. So allow for that cooling off period and focus on those solutions afterwards. And so very important, so incredibly important, human touch, hugs. Remember, we talked about when a child was having a temper tantrum, saying to them, I need a hug. When a child is upset, when they come to me in the classroom, the first thing I do is I hug that child, if I know that child wants that hug, because that lets them know, without me constantly, Charlie Brown's teacher, constantly talking, that lets them know, hey, I'm here for you. I'm thinking about you and I love you. And human touch is just a miraculous remedy for so many different things. So we're going to talk about praise and encouragement next. And this is a mantra of Montessori. It was one of the first things I learned when I took my teacher's training years ago, when we still used chisels and rocks to write on, that We use encouragement rather than praise. Here's an example of praise. Now, this doesn't apply to Montessori children, but one day it'll apply to your children. If it, oh, you got all A's, you get a big reward. Well, that would be praising a child. Encouraging a child would be saying, you worked hard, you deserved this grade. You should be so proud of yourself. Again, you will never hear the words, I'm so proud of you, come out of my mouth when it towards a child. It's always, you must be so proud of yourself. My daughters are in their 30s, and to this day, when they talk to me about an accomplishment, I say, you must be so proud of yourself. It becomes second nature after a while. And it is hard at first to retrain the way you respond. Instead of saying to somebody, well, you did it just like I told you you should, say, I trust your judgment, and look at the results. You decide what's best for you. I have faith in you. Those are all encouraging terms. And praise, like, I love this quote on the bottom, praise like candy can be enjoyable on occasion, but encouragement allows your children to see themselves as capable, contributing members of the family, the classroom, of society. Don't say, you're such a good girl or boy. Your child's going to know that you love them. You don't have to tell them what a good boy or a good girl they are. But you can say instead, encouraging words would be, no matter what, I love you. Always know that no matter what, I love you. And I even say this to the kids in the classroom too, when something's going on. I'll say, hey, regardless of what's happening right now, I'm on your side. I am team whomever. I love you. Don't forget that. And go on. So we're going to look at dictionary. I love this chart. So I'm kind of just going to go through it with you, as you can read it as I'm talking, and I can throw in some experiences. And you can also add in a chat anything that you have throughout this entire thing, by the way. A dictionary definition of praise is to express favorable judgment of something. But encouragement is to inspire with courage, to stimulate. The way to address people praise-wise versus encouragement. To the doer, good girl, that's praising that person. But instead of praising the person, acknowledge the deed. Thanks so much for helping. I really appreciate it. I really was very appreciative of the help you gave me. Recognizing with praise versus encouragement. You did it right. Instead of, you gave it your best. And how do you feel about that? How does that make you feel? I have kids all the time coming to me with pictures that they've drawn, and what do you think? Do you think it's beautiful? What do you think about this? And I'll say, I can see how hard you worked, and I can tell that you feel really good about the job you did, and that's wonderful. Attitude. Praise can be patronizing, and it can be manipulative, saying, I like the way Susie is sitting. But encouragement is respectful and it's appreciative. Who could show me how we should be sitting now? Who can show me? And then thank you for showing me. Thank you for sitting the way you're supposed to. Acknowledge that. iMessages. Judging something in a praising way is, I like the way you did that. Again, same with pictures. I don't say, I like your picture. I think it's beautiful, because that's putting my judgment, the way I'm feeling on that. And that doesn't matter how I feel about that. What matters is how your child feels about that. The child feels about that. So instead of saying, I like the way you did that, I appreciate how you cooperated with this. We just did a fun thing in morning care the other day, maybe a few weeks ago by now, time's kind of slipping away, but we did a cooperative, we made a cooperative spider's web out of yarn, and everybody had to hold it up in order for it to work. And so appreciating that cooperation and seeing that the end result is good for the group is just a really positive thing for a child to see. Let's see. When you praise a child by saying you're such a good girl, again, you're putting your judgments on that. Instead, say, thanks for helping. I really appreciate it. Again, show the child that just because you're the parent or just because I'm the teacher, we're vulnerable. We make mistakes. We need help. We're appreciative of that help. Instead of saying, I'm proud of you for getting an A, you can say that, that A just shows how hard that you're working. So you're giving them ownership of how hard that they're working instead of taking that away by saying, I'm proud of you. It doesn't matter. What I do, what I feel is not important. It's what they feel. This is something that I really hope you all remember, that when you are constantly praising a child, you are creating an approval junkie. Do you like my dress? Do you like my hair? Do you like my work? Do you like this? Do you like the way I sing? But when you are encouraging children, then you are teaching them how to seek out inner direction. I worked really hard on this the last time, so I'm going to work just as hard or even harder if I can on this next time. Praise looks like this when you're thinking about external things. What do others think of me? And internally, it is, what do I think? That's not at all dissimilar to external motivators for rewards and just intrinsic value. That's the reward right there. Praise teaches dependence on others for their evaluation of you. And again, if you're being kind, if you're being respectful, if you're not harming anything, then what others think should, we need to impart that wisdom on our children at a very young age, that what others think is not important. It is what you think, how you feel about yourself, how you feel. And trust me, this will go a long, long way when your children are teenagers, because peer pressure is huge. I've raised 2 of them, and it's they're tough times sometimes. But when you give them this sense of self and this sense of inner direction, and the importance comes from what they think rather than what others think, you're really going to have an easier load. It's not going to be real easy, trust me, but it's definitely going to lighten the load. When you say things to a child like, you did it right, you are actually saying, you conformed. This is the way everybody should do it. But when you encourage them, instead of saying you did it right, say, what did you learn from this? How did you feel when you were doing this? How do you think about the end result? What is it that you understand? Not you did it right because that's the way everybody is supposed to do it. Praise, a really, really negative side effect of constantly being praised as a child, is that you only feel worthwhile when others approve. And I shouldn't say only, but you feel worthwhile when others approve. But when you're encouraged, you don't need that approval of others, because you feel worthwhile because you understand that you're working your hardest and that you are You're doing what you're supposed to do because it's the right thing to do, and not because other people want you to do that. And the long-term effects is, um, praise makes you dependent on others for approval, for validation, and but with encouragement, the long-term effects are self-confidence, self-reliance. You know, you have a child that leaves Montessori after a 3-year cycle in Montessori, or more than that. Some of our children are there from the time they're 6 weeks old till 6 years old. You get these incredible self learners, these children who want to learn because they're confident in their abilities to learn something and to take that new information and run with it. So the next thing that we are going to go on is all about the long-term effects of praise and encouragement. And I love this behavior chart and how it is very, it looks like a heart, as you can see, that iceberg kind of looks like a heart. And remember, when you praise something for a certain behavior, it just hits that tip of the iceberg. That behavior may only occur because that tip of the iceberg has been stoked, so to speak. But it doesn't reach down to that deep, deep need to feel significant and to feel like you belong to the group. Encouragement helps people develop a belief in their personal significance and capability, like we were just talking about. It's not what others think. It's how you feel about what you've done. Oh, and I love this too, because you notice that it's in the shape of a heart, that it's similar to a heart, that iceberg picture over here to the right. The root word in encourage is the word courage, which is from the Latin word cor, that means heart. So when you're encouraging people, you're giving them heart. You're giving them you're reaching their whole heart with that encouragement. And it really is something that lasts for a long, long time to come, and kind of forms this tremendous base for future dealings with people and dealings about themselves. Let's talk about, hold on one second, the wheel of choice. We mentioned this, I believe we mentioned this last time, but we just kind of breezed over it. But it's really, really important. And I love this idea of this wheel of choice. And I think it would work beautifully at home. It's important children are involved in creating their own wheel of choice, because again, they're contributing, they're significant, they belong, they're capable. And it also, when a child has their hand in this, in creating this wheel of choice, which is, the wheel of choice, by the way, is a wheel with different solutions to different things that might come up, that the child can turn around and look at that wheel of fortune and decide, I think I need a we need a family meeting, or right now I need to walk away. And when a child is involved in making up their own wheel of choice, then they're going to turn around and feel much more much more motivated to use it, because they were a part of it. I think we talked the last time about charts, not reward charts, not star charts, but about routine charts. And I told you the story about the little boy who was just having such a hard time coming to school every day because he needed to know what was happening next, what was happening next, what was happening next. And my just telling him what was happening next did not cut it for him. It didn't give him what he needed. So I took a pictures of him, and he had a blast doing this with me. First you come in and you put your coat away, then you go into morning care, then after morning care, and every step by step, we had pictures, and we made it into a poster that everybody else in the classroom, and it was sequenced, and and everyone else in the classroom could look at that chart too if they needed to know what was coming up next. And then we turned around and made separate copies of those pictures and put it down in the language area as sequencing work. So that I'm getting a little off topic, but having the child involved in making these wheel of choices or routine charts really helps motivate them to use them. So what you're going to do essentially is you're going to sit down with paper and pencil, and you're going to ask your child for ideas of what they could do when they feel frustrated or when they feel hurt about something, sad. What makes you feel better? What would be a good solution to the problem? What helps you calm down? Write down every suggestion. Again, it's that sense of significance. Don't just, bypass something the child said that they want to put on their wheel of choice because you don't find it important or valid, because the child does. And it's, taking those steps, giving up that control that your need to control something and handing it over to the child like that is really a tremendous tool and a real way to empower a child and let the child know that they matter and what they say matters. So write down every suggestion. Then when your child has come up with everything that he or she can think of, show him, sit down and draw this big wheel of choice with them. And well, I ask your child first if they want to put it on, if you want to make it on the computer, do you want to draw the pictures? Do you want to find clip art? It's your child's wheel of choice. So let it be just that. And of course, that doesn't mean that you can't help them with it. And then by that means support them and be with them while they're making it and discuss what they're making. And then when it's finished, let it be hung in a prominent place. That's a safety net for your child. That's something he or she is going to go to and rely upon. And in doing so, you are stepping back as the parent and you're allowing the child to find solutions to their own problems. And that is so incredibly empowering and so very, very important. Again, I mentioned a while ago, pampering. Don't fix, don't rescue, don't pamper a child. Let your child learn how to come up with these things and work through these things, and doing this wheel of choice together and letting your child be the architect of it is really something that is going to help your child so much in the long run and make things a lot calmer and more peaceful and happier at home as well. So I would love to see if by any chance anybody happens to make some and wants to post it on our Facebook page or on the websites. I would love to see if you do actually make a wheel of choice. So let's talk about taking the high road. So many parents feel this unbelievable need to get the last word in, but don't. Okay, so let's talk about ways that typical parenting, and I don't mean a typical parent, but typical parenting skills might respond to something, and then let's talk about how it could be responded by a positive, disciplined, trained parent. Okay, so to say to your child, don't talk to me that way, young lady. I mean, I know the words have fallen out of my mouth to my daughters, and then I've immediately been like, why did I just say that? So, don't, again, we make mistakes too. Don't berate yourself, but don't talk to me like that, young lady. Instead, I wonder what I did to upset you so much, because that might help your child open up to, hey, this is why I'm upset with you. This is what you did or what you said that made me uncomfortable. Or go to your room and don't come out until you can be respectful. Well, instead, why don't you just say, wow, you really are angry right now. You're really, really angry right now. Um, you're grounded for a week. No, I need to take some time out until I calm down and can talk to you respectfully. So that's modeling, again, that walking away, calming down. We'll talk about it later. Now, one thing, and we'll go through this list too, but I want to tell you too before I forget that if you can use all the positive discipline speak in the world, but if you say it with anger or you say it patronizingly, it's going to be just as well. You might have well spoken in typical parent speak. Okay, so watch, instead of saying, I wonder what it did that, what did I do to upset you so much? It's, oh, I wonder what I did to upset you so much. Be humble, be be human. You don't have to always have the last word. Show your child how to take that high road. Um, how far do you think that smart mouth's going to take you? I mean, I hear that coming out. I've not heard it in our carpool lines, but I hear it in grocery stores. I hear it. I used to hear it sitting in friends' homes with children the same age as my children. Just, it's really takes me back. Instead of saying, how far do you think that smart mouth is going to you? I can tell you're really, really upset. Do you want to tell me more right now? Do you want to take a break? How is it that you want to handle it? Again, you're letting go of that control. I mean, letting go of control as a parent does not mean that your child's going to run amok and do whatever he or she wants to do. And because you have no control, this is going to happen. But it's letting go of that power structure. And instead of being the hierarchy, it's I'm the parent or I'm the teacher in the classroom. It's we're equal here, we're even, we're on the same page, we all want the same things. Take that high road and you'll see how much better you feel about things that come about, conflicts that come about with your child, and how much more positively your child responds to that. So that's really important to do that. And again, guys, I know how hard it is sometimes to do this. I'm a parent. I'm teaching for years and years and years. But try work on it. Here's some tips. Breathe. Just take a deep breath. Walk away a little bit if you need to. But try to phrase things when you talk to your children that you are talking to them, again, to them and not at them. And I'm sure that you've all experienced people talking at you, whether it's a coworker, a grocery store worker. We've all experienced it, and I don't find it to be a positive experience. And I shut down, offensive, if people treat me in that way. So in order for your child not to shut down or be defensive, then take that high road and let them know, hey, we're a team. We're a team. I'm not your boss. We're a team. We're both just as important in this. So let's on to the next study at our few points to remember. I also want to talk to you about something real fast, and then I'll get to this. I know I've mentioned it briefly before, but it is very, very important for your children to hear you apologize if you have, in fact, misinterpreted a situation or wrongfully blamed a child for something. Apologize to them. It's so important. We want a world where children feel safe to take risks and to see mistakes as nothing more than learning. So when they see that you make mistakes and you own up to them, you're accountable for them, and you apologize for those mistakes, then it makes it so much easier for them to turn around and apologize. And when I say this, let me just say, this is a big pet peeve of mine as a teacher and as a parent. When a child does something, so often I hear parents or adults say to teachers, say to parents, say to the child, tell him you're sorry. Well, no, no. Forcing a child to say that they're sorry for something is so wrong on so many levels. Well, first of all, what you're teaching a child is that as long as I just say I'm sorry, whether I mean it or not, doesn't matter. I'm just, know, I'm off the hook if I say I'm sorry. It also is, what if that child's not sorry? What if the child feels very vindicated in whatever he or she just did in a certain situation? So don't assume that that child is sorry for something. Instead, talk to them. How are you feeling just now? How do you think that you might have reacted differently if you had taken a little bit of time to cool down? Put yourself in your friend's place. Let's role model. Let's pretend I am you and you are your friend, and let's see how you might have felt. So rather than forcing an apology, give your child tools to learn how to self-evaluate, and then determine how they're going to deal with that. But also make sure that you model, again, it's all going back to modeling, make sure that you model how to apologize, and that everybody makes mistakes and everybody apologizes. So let's talk about freedom within limits. Avoid power struggles by respectfully sharing control. Don't micromanage, because when you micromanage, what you're actually saying to your child is, I don't think you're that capable. I think I'm more capable. I mean, think about if you've ever been in a work situation where you have all these fabulous ideas and all this experience that you can put forth towards those ideas, and someone is micromanaging you and telling you this is how you're supposed to do it. When you're both trying to reach the same goal, being micromanaged kind of makes you shut down, just like that whole ask versus tell when you're told to do something. Listen in ways that invite children to listen as well. We spoke many seminars ago now about reflective listening. I hear you are saying that you feel this certain way because. Repeat back to the child and what you hear them saying, so that they understand that you are on the same page. And if you're not, say to the child, is this correct? Am I assuming that this is how you're, what's going on here, or is there something else that's happening that you want to, that we need to delve even further into? Be an active listener. Focus on solutions. Don't focus on, I told you so, and had you done this, this would not have happened. On the solution and share your responsibility. Again, apologize if you're going to have some responsibility in some of these conflicts that you come up with, because people push buttons, and children know just what buttons of ours to push at times, whether they're your child or your student, they know. So you have to look at that and understand that you are responsible for certain aspects of this conflict that you're involved in, and focus on those solutions. When it is appropriate, kindly and firmly decide what you will do, keeping in mind that for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction, equal and opposite reaction. Think about the consequences of your actions. Teach the children, model to the children how they can take a look at their actions and how their actions may have caused certain things. And finally, again, model all the skills you want the children to learn, all the behaviors you want the children to have. the do as I say and not as I do, that's gone. That's out the window. That's not in our vocabulary. You model, if you want a child to behave a certain way in a public setting, then you better be doing those same, modeling those behaviors. Again, like I said, if I don't, the children aren't know that they're not supposed to call out across the classroom, whether it's to me or to a friend, when I need, unless it is an emergency and something's going to fall on a child, and the child's going to be hurt, and then I might call out across the room. But if I just have something to say to a child, I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk over to that child just as I would expect that child to do to me. Voice modulation, model that. Humbleness, model that. Appreciation for things. Your child is a sponge right now. I mean, like Maria Montessori called children of these ages, of the 3 through 6 year olds, they have absorbent minds, especially younger children up into the age of 2, literally just suck everything up like a sponge. They don't even need lessons per se. They just absorb it from the environment. But so everything that you're modeling for these children, for your children and for our students, that's just one more way of getting your point across. Again, it's, this do as I say, not as I do. Do as I do. And you do the way you want your children to do. So I think, my friends, we're going to go on to this, just about our last slide for the night. And this is a review of this positive discipline toolbox. Discipline teaches children and helps them learn for the future. And remember, the whole idea of positive discipline is to shape the way your child thinks and reacts. I don't mean their thinking per se, but how they react to things. Helps with their social skills. You want them to be a positive and contributing factor in society, in their lives, in their classrooms, in their work, eventually in their homes, in your homes now. So always be firm, kind and firm together. Remember the authoritative, not the authoritarian way to deal with children. Decide what you're going to do and follow through. And when you decide what you're going to do, you have to make sure that what you are putting out there is reasonable and something that can be achieved, and that's something that you could do as well. But always follow through with it. Because if you don't follow through with it, then again, your child's going to know, oh, they're just talking. They never, I have literally been told by children countless number of times over the years, oh, my mom never does what she says she's going to do. So when your child knows that, your 4, 5, 6-year-old, 3-year-old child knows that, then you're setting a precedence for them. Offer your child choices, but limited choices. Do you give them that power, that empower them with knowing that their choices are important to you? So limited choices. Would you like broccoli or would you like cauliflower? Your choice. I'm gonna cook either broccoli or cauliflower for you. So which one is it that you would prefer? Don't give them 20 choices, just limited choices. Less is more. Please believe me when I say that. Distract and redirect. Sometimes talking through something doesn't work. Like I said earlier today, that the choices that, everything does not always work. All these tools, it's not one size fits all. It fits all. One of these things might work for one situation and it doesn't work for another situation. So sometimes you just have to distract a child and redirect that child. Always use encouragement. Please, please, always use encouragement versus praise. It's a hard thing to wrap your mind around when for 30 some, 40 some, however many years you've always used praise, thinking that that's a good positive thing, and meaning oh so well, but use that encouragement, because that's going to create these self confident, self-directed children that we all want. Use hugs, human touch. It's nature's medicine. It's incredible. Just think how it makes you feel when you're upset about something and someone just wraps their arms around you and lets you know that you are loved. No words are needed. Get your child involved in the problem solving. Let them know that what they have to say is just as important as what you have to say. Ask, curious questions rather than telling. So how did that make you feel that happened? And remember, just like with what we were talking about before, it's your tone of voice. Well, how did that make you feel? That's not going to be helpful. But how did that make you feel? And that's opening up, allowing that child to open up to you and telling you exactly how they made you feel. It made them feel. Use active and reflective listening. Remember, you're getting down on their eye level. You're repeating what they say. I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. So what you're telling me is, repeat back to them. Focus on solutions. Don't focus on the actions that now need a solution. No, I told you so. Or if this happens, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. Just focus on the solution for what's happening right then and right there. Routine charts are wonderful. Like I was saying, the little boy who needed those pictures, I have to tell you, as soon as that routine chart went up, he didn't cry again when he walked into the building. And he was crying when he was coming into the building at first. But once he got that routine chart and he knew exactly what was expected of him, then he felt secure. And that's what routine gives children, is a sense of security, knowing what's going to come next, knowing what's going to happen next. And expect improvement. Your child is capable. Expect improvement, and help guide them along, and talk about it. Hey, I see that when we were talking about X, Y, and Z, that it really didn't work out well for us. So let's talk about something else that we can do instead. It's always very fluid. It's very dynamic, all of these discipline. And again, give yourself a break, moms and dads. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We all react sometimes to our children in ways that once that initial reaction is done, we think, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Give yourself a break. Over everything that we have talked about in these last 3 sessions. Know that it gets easier in time when you practice doing these things, and just be assured that you're doing the best that you can do to make great little children. And I have to say that the children that I am in contact with at the CMMS that I work in, the Forest Hill branch of CMMS, they are just all incredibly fabulous children who are so supported and so loved by their parents. And it's something that we are all working on together to help them have that confidence and that they are so capable, and they're just going to do wonderful things because that's what they're able to do. So this is now over. Our final positive discipline seminar is over. We're going to start back up with Montessori 101 again back in September 13th. So mark your calendars. At the beginning of the school year, we felt that it would be really helpful to go into a little bit more detail maybe that we did the first time, and really help you understand the wonderful method of education that your child is immersed in, and the choice and what a terrific choice you made in putting your child in Montessori in general, and specifically with us at Children's Manor. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful summer.